So welcome everybody and welcome to the second of our hormone webinars. And tonight I'm joined by Essex-based personal trainer Dee Ivens. And before we go over to Dee, I'm just going to introduce myself because some of you might be watching this back and some of you might not know who I am. So my name is Kate Gardner. I'm a yoga teacher, a hormone yoga teacher. I'm a menopause wellbeing practitioner, and I'm also soon to be a menopause yoga teacher once I've submitted my last piece of work. And menopause is my thing. It's what I'm interested in. And my mission really is to help women, to empower women with lots of different techniques. So really this hormone webinar is to really empower you with knowledge, because when I started going through this journey, I really didn't know anything and found it quite overwhelming. So I really want to share that with you. And just to say, before I hand over to Dee and we start our chat, tonight we're going to be talking about exercise, training, and perimenopause and menopause. And I'm going to refer to it as menopause, which classes the whole transition. So it's from perimenopause to menopause to postmenopause, which is where I am now. So we'll call it all menopause tonight. So just a few stats for you, some staggering stats that many women don't know and are not aware of. Many women just want to kind of put their blinkers on and not really know about menopause. But just so that you know, 1 in 2 women over the age of 50 suffer from osteopenia, which is a weakening of the bones. 1 in 5 women suffer with osteoporosis, which is a severe condition which causes severe fracturing of the bones. 1 in 5. Heart disease is the biggest killer of women in the world. If you put all the cancers together, heart disease is still more. And finally, as we're going to talk about tonight, exercise and training really, really helps us with our menopause symptoms, even though sometimes we might not feel like it. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Dee. And Dee, thank you for being here tonight.
Oh, you're welcome. Lovely to be here.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Really good. Thank you.
Good. Oh, just to say as well, Dee is actually my half sister. In case I didn't say that, we've got the same dad. So Dee, talk us through your background. You know, how long have you been a PT? How did you come to being a PT?
Well, I got interested in exercise really when I was about 23. I started doing exercise to music and aerobics and sort of things like that. And from about that age, I was always into training myself. I've been a PT now for about 14 years. Yeah, and it's just my passion in life, exercising, helping other people, get into exercise, enjoy exercise. Yeah, and it's just my life really.
So talk us through what happened to you when you started feeling perimenopause and menopause symptoms. How did that affect your own training?
Well, it was quite funny because as I think is the case with a lot of women, I was getting a lot of symptoms, but in no way did I relate it to menopause. But looking back now, I realised that my symptoms actually started years before I even considered that it could be menopause. And for me, it was really strange because the initial thing for me was like the complete opposite, where I actually became really hyper, very energetic. I was behaving quite irrationally. I found myself being quite aggressive, getting into sort of situations and arguing with people, but actually really quite enjoying it as well. And like just this sort of feeling of like, I felt like I went a bit nuts really. And that sort of probably lasted for about a year. And then after that, again, not putting it down to anything, because I was probably about sort of 43 when that kind of happened. Then I started getting funny symptoms, like I got this weird bad breath. I even went to the dentist. I was like, oh my God, I've got this like bad breath sort of thing. And he looked at my teeth. He said, oh, there's nothing wrong. From that, I started getting this funny sensation of like an itching, but it felt like I had creepy crawlies under my skin. Sort of all strange, weird things. Then I suddenly started getting these feelings of anxiety, like a panic attack, like feeling really anxious about the most stupid things. like even popping down the road to the local sort of shop, and I'd be thinking, oh, I can't do that. I don't feel right, kind of thing. And then from there, I went completely the other way, from being sort of quite hyper to just absolute like chronic fatigue. I mean, really, really exhausted. And I was eating sort of the same. I was still training, but I'd wake up in the morning and feel like I hadn't even slept, and then around that time, that's when I noticed that my periods started mucking about a little bit, like, I was always really regular, 28 days. And then all of a sudden, after 2 weeks, I'd have a period, or, then I'd have a really heavy period. And then the other thing that was really, really noticeable as well is, my PMT, it became awful. I mean, literally to the point where I felt like I had flu for a couple of days before I would have a period. I'd be completely wiped out. And it was actually when I was talking to another lady at the gym one day, and she'd gone through menopause. She was a little bit older than me, and she said she recommended a gynecologist. So I went along to see her. By this time, I was feeling like I was going nuts. I mean, every day I felt like I had another, I was saying there's something else wrong with me. Even my friends were going, oh God, what's wrong with you today, kind of thing, all that. Anyway, I finally consulted a gynecologist. I went to see her. I had my blood test done, and I can remember the day when I went back to get the results, and she said to me, you have gone, she said, your hormone levels are so low. She said, you're in menopause, kind of thing. And literally, I mean, I just cried, because I'd reached a point, I thought I was going nuts. I thought I was like losing my mind, all these weird things happening, feeling anxious, feeling exhausted. I actually sort of reached a point where I did think, I don't want to carry on sort of living like this. I was feeling, that bad. So that was how, I found out that I was, in menopause. And she said to me as well, she said that my levels were extremely low for someone, that, for the amount of time I'd been in perimenopause, basically. Yeah.
How old were you when this? So what was the sort of time scale, and how old were you?
I'd say that when I sort of definitely had it confirmed, it was probably about 10 years ago, when I was about 47. And then from there, I mean, she prescribed me an HRT, like a tablet kind of thing. And honestly and truthfully, I took it, and within 3 days, I suddenly felt, whoa, I feel a bit better. Like, it was quite incredible, But unfortunately for me, after a few months, I started getting a lot of stomach problems, gastritis, terrible indigestion. And it turned out that, the tablets weren't agreeing with me. So, that I then tried like cream and pessaries. And again, it wasn't sort of great. I was still suffering sort of from exhaustion and things like that. I was getting very down with it all, to be honest with you. But then it was actually, my husband was working with a lady who said about this bioidentical hormones, which is a private route. But I kept saying, oh no, I don't want to spend money on that. It's going to be expensive. But finally, I just was in such a state, I just thought, oh, I'll give it a go. And I went along and I took that route, which for me really changed my life. And since then, I've been taking that in various sort of, various types sort of thing. But honestly, since then, I was able to continue life and just, feel relatively normal.
So Dee, so just so that you guys know, so Dee's on she takes bioidentical hormones, and there are different types of HRT that you can take. You can take body identical. So depending on where you are in the world, this is generally what you'll be prescribed if you go to the doctor. However, I'm not sure about in Spain. I'm still researching exactly what they give and if you can get it. A lot of doctors just say, go away and deal with it. It's part of life. But the bioidentical are made bespoke to what you need. So they're slightly different, and they can only be prescribed privately, and they're not regulated by the British Menopause Society. And it's interesting for me because Dee's obviously gone the HRT route, and I am 40, I'm 50. God, I was going to say 47 then. Jesus. Just took a few years off. I'm 50, and I haven't gone down that route. I've gone completely natural at the moment. But I don't, there's never any judgment. Whatever people need, whatever women feel like they need to make themselves feel better, as you've just said, it's really important that we've got these tools, and whatever that is. No woman should be unhappy. No woman should suffer. No woman should feel like she hasn't got a full life to live. So if that's, we're lucky that we've got these different routes that we can go down, and we need to talk about, but it's, as we're going to talk about now with exercise, it's not with there's not one thing. You can't just put a patch on your arm and think that everything's going to be okay. You really need to, menopause is a big emergence. It's a big time to look at your life, to look at what's going on in your life, how happy you are, and also to look at your lifestyle, to look at how you eat, to look at what supplements you take, to look at your stress, because stress is like the number one thing that knocks your hormones out. So, if you've got all of those things going on, bad diet, bad lifestyle, mega stressed, then, and you go and put HRT on, then it's probably not going to work, because you have to address all of the pillars of health. But tonight we're really talking about exercise and how important that is. And I think many of us, I know for me, when I've been to gyms, and they've been very male gyms, and some of the ways that they're training have sort of put me off, and I've sort of thought, oh, I wonder if they really know, I wonder if they really understand, a woman in their kind of 50s, 60s, 40s, I wonder if they really understand our bodies, because our bodies are different, and some of our symptoms mean that we've got aches and pains. Like at the moment, I've got frozen shoulder, a common menopause symptom. We get more delicate sacroiliac joints, a common perimenopause, menopause symptom. And I wonder if people know that. I went to an osteopath in Spain, and I said, I've got a frozen shoulder, but I think this is menopause, because many of my friends have this. And he was like, no, that's rubbish. It's not your hormones. And then I went back to him and I went, look, if you've got a lot of female clients, you need to know this. It is hormones. It's estrogen. It is our hormones. When our estrogen starts to go, it creates more inflammation in the body. You need to be aware of this. So anyway, that's my thing. But Dee, so moving on to you and talking about training. So when you started taking the bar, what kind of happened to your training, like before you took the bioidenticals, and then when you took the bioidenticals, how did it affect your training,
well I'd just like to say as well, like initially, I tried more natural things. I tried like maca, and it did initially help. It sort of helped with my energy levels a little bit, but as I went down the line, it wasn't enough for me personally, because my case was extreme. I had like a crashing menopause, where you basically go from normal levels to nothing in a short period of time, whereas generally it's a slower decline. But with training, somehow, even when I was so exhausted, it would be the one thing that I would do, is I would go to the gym, even though the rest of the day I might feel totally exhausted, because just even so, for that time, even though I found it hard, I felt it was good for my mind. It was just like a good focus. It's I can't, it's exercise is so much more than just about making you look good and whatever. It's about so good mentally, as you know. But yeah, basically before I even sort of had symptoms, I would sometimes do, like, my workouts would usually be an hour or sometimes 2 hours and things like that. But then as I went through menopause, I realised, I did a lot of research myself, exercise is still a stress on your body. And as you said earlier, one of the main things is to reduce stress. So one of the things I did is I just changed my workout style, where I would probably train for a maximum 30 to 45 minutes, make sure I included like compound strength movements. So, maybe like doing something, for example, like a squat press. So you're getting 2 exercises in one, but you're reducing the time. A bit of HIIT training. So you're, again, not exercising for as long. But that was after I, sort of got my energy back a little bit more. Oh, I can't hear you.
Because I didn't want background noise.
Oh,
So
that's
if
it.
so if somebody was kind of thinking, okay, well, I really feel that, I'm going through this and I want to exercise, like how much and how often should a woman that's in perimenopause or menopause exercise?
Well, I think the most important thing is to listen to your body. And some days, especially in perimenopause, you're going to feel better than other days. So when you feel like that, maybe you can do a little bit more. On a day, if you're feeling really, really exhausted, then sort of maybe cut your time down to 15 minutes and don't do anything as energetic, and just really, really listen to your body. And also make sure you do nice, mobility to warm up, and do a really nice relaxing stretch at the end, because that's I always say that's saying thank you to your body for letting you do what you've just done. So just really just listen, and try, obviously still try to train 3 to 4 times a week if you can, but it's down to you how you feel.
And what about like strength training versus cardiovascular training?
Well, definitely strength training is really important, because that will help you retain your muscle mass, and it can also help with what you were saying about osteopenia, osteoporosis. It can even help build bone. So it's very, very important. Also, strength training, from another angle, aside from that, there's something about strength training when you sort of lift weights, you feel strong, and then you feel mentally strong as well. So strength training is really, really important. Also, the more muscle that you have in your body, the more energy you burn even at rest. Whereas with like cardiovascular exercise, I mean, it has its place, but you burn while you're just doing the exercise. Whereas with strength training, you have it's called like exercise post-oxygen consumption or whatever. So basically you carry on burning after you've done the training, and the more muscle you have, because it's an active substance in the body, then you're burning more calories, which is really important, because obviously metabolism tends to slow. There's this issue with, obviously, you get like meno belly, which can be hard to shift. So, it's good news all around, really, as far as resistance training is concerned.
And because I was reading somewhere as well about how important it is to work the big muscles, like your glute muscles, so the muscles in your bum and the muscles in your legs, and that there's a connection there was something to do with something to do with the pelvis, but it's really, really important that we do like squats and lunges. Sorry, girls.
Yeah. Well, they're just a good multi-joint exercise anyway. And in regard to getting older, they're functional exercises. So they're also, they're movements that as you get older, you want to be able to pick things up, and bend easily. So, it's important for that reason. Plus you're using big muscle groups, which again, use more energy, more oxygen. And also work the heart as well, because you can still work the heart. You can still get cardiovascular exercise from doing resistance training, especially if you're doing multi-joint movements, like if you're doing a squat and then a press,
Yeah.
So all good.
So do you recommend that women go to classes, or that go to the gym, or can they just, would they get some weights at home, or do supervised workouts, or just go out and put things like those weight bands around your wrist and power walk and stuff like that?
Well, I think it's nice. It's good to have something structured. I mean, often, with general gyms, you'll go for your induction, and unless you're having personal training, you sort of have an induction, and then you're sort of left to it, and then you're like, well, I don't really know, what I'm doing here or whatever. So, I mean, another thing you can do as well is, I mean, even like on YouTube, if you put in like resistance workout and you have some weights at home, you can do it at home, because a lot of the time it is easier to train at home. You can sort of get up in the morning, can't you? Don't have to have your shower and all that, just sort of you know, do your workout. Having said that, you can do classes. Obviously, you've got like body pump classes that are resistance based, but again, that class is for like an hour. You don't really want to be, you know, putting yourself under so much pressure for that length of time. Or even if you just got a personal trainer for like a couple of sessions to sort of give you an idea of what you're doing, and then you can continue yourself. But really, you know, I think it's quite nice to do like alternate doing a resistance exercise with a cardio exercise, resistance cardio, and then just do it for 25 to 30 minutes, and you get just as much benefit from that as training for like an hour, 2 hours. And it's about consistency. It's about doing like a few sessions every week, you know, rather than just like not doing anything all week and then thinking, oh, I've got to go to the gym now. And, you know, you do sort of 2 hours in 1 week. Do little bits, but keep it regular.
Yeah. And also, I think I was reading somewhere that, you know, there's a lot of when you go out and you do exercise with other people, so whether that's, you know, do a class together or do a walk in a group, that just being in a group actually really reduces our stress levels as well. So it's actually quite nice for us to get out and do a class and be with other people, other women.
Yeah, there is that aspect to it. I mean, even though I'm a personal trainer and whatever, I still enjoy doing classes. And it's nice as well to not have to think about what you're doing sometimes. It's just go in and sort of have someone tell you what to do. Yeah, and there is, you know, that nice sort of social aspect to it as well. As long as you're sort of doing it within your limits and it's not making you feel worse.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like sometimes a whole hour's class, I'm like, I can't be bothered to do that now. I'd rather just do 30 minutes. You know, for me, 30 minutes is perfect. Have a little run around, do some weights, and then that's it. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do a whole hour. It's just like, it's too much.
Yeah, well, that's what I do. That's what I do for women in menopause and things, because it's just long enough. And then as long as you do the right exercises and you do it correctly, that's all you need to do.
So what tips would you give? What tips would you give anyone? And we'll open this up in a second and just have a chat and see where everyone's at in terms of their perimenopause, menopause, or if they've got any questions or anything that they want to ask. One thing to say as well is I have like a weakened shoulder, and it's a menopause symptom. And I do find, funnily enough, when it's not too bad, that training it has helped it. And after a year of training, my osteopath was quite he was like, it's amazing how much better it is just from strengthening it, because you strengthen those muscles around it, even though you want to train it. It did kind of help. It definitely made it feel a little bit stronger. But yeah, what tips would you give? Like what sort of key tips would you give women that are in perimenopause or menopause who are maybe feeling like they don't really want to train, or they're not really sure how to start?
Well, tips. I've written down some tips here, some things. I mean, just generally, I would say go to bed as early as you can, when you can, because often your sleep is disrupted from, hot sweats and whatever. And then obviously you can make up a bit of sleep so you can have a bit more energy for training. If you haven't, if you're not familiar with the gym or whatever, then start with classes. There are a lot more classes now that are for shorter times, for like half an hour and things like that. Give that a go. Obviously, eat healthily. Try not to eat processed foods. Try and reduce your alcohol and caffeine, because all of that doesn't help with your energy levels and things in menopause. As I said, try some of the alternative things as well for energy, like maca or like ashwagandha. You can try things like that before you consider, taking the HRT route. Also relaxation, meditation, yoga, as your kind of your rest, your exercise, your nutrition. Taking time for yourself, looking after your mind. It's all of it to be able to function and feel nice and relaxed and carry on feeling good.
Before we close out, so just to say as well, Dee is going to give, for those of you that watch this back, Dee is going to give a discount. So if anybody does want to book a one-to-one with her, then she's going to give a discount. She would normally charge £40, but she's going to charge £30. So you'll get an email after this, which will explain the discount and explain how to contact her if you want to then have a chat with her. And also just to say, thank you for being here. And I've got a couple of offers on this month, just so you know. So this month, I'm offering a free yoga class to anybody that wants to try my yoga, and I teach on a Tuesday morning at 9:30 Spain, 8:30 UK at the moment, and then 7:30 UK, 8:30 Spain on a Thursday night, and that's a really chill class. So Tuesday morning is like a flow, and then Thursday night is a really, really chill class. Lovely if you just want to lie and relax and just totally like it's yin and it's restorative. So really, really nice and relaxing. So please come and try a free class with me this month. And that's in conjunction with Menopause Awareness Month, because this month is all about sharing and teaching about menopause so that women know, because women really need to know young. They need to know what's going to happen to them, and they need to know, you know, that they need to really look after their bones when they're young as well. It's not good to wait until you're 40 and it just suddenly hits you like a bus. And one other thing, next month, it definitely hit me like a bus. Next month, I'm going to be talking to Rebecca Winter-Lou about something that I swear by, that I love, that I have every 3 weeks, which is acupuncture. And she's a women's health specialist and naturopath as well. And she's going to be talking about how acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine can help to rebalance you. And also she'll be sharing some acupressure points, which is like places that you can touch yourself. So things, Lorraine, like exhaustion, there'll be a point that she'll be able to give you that you can press that will give you energy. So she's going to be sharing some acupressure points, and that'll be on the 1st of November. But you will get an email after this webinar with links to join my classes, and also links for Dee, and also links for acupuncture. Emily, you just joined us again. So we're just closing out. You'll get an email of everything. Emily, was there anything you wanted to ask, or any questions that you wanted to ask before we go? No. Okay. Okay, well, thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. We didn't see Lisa. Maria, I think, dropped out. Thank you, Lorraine. Thank you, Dee. Thank you, Emily. And please join us next month when we'll be talking about acupuncture. I'm going for my acupuncture on Friday and I can't wait. I feel like a new woman when I walk out of there. I float out of my acupuncture. But thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.